here. I'm Megyn Kelly. The Golden Globes are this Sunday. Will you going to be watching? Yeah, I'm going to be watching too. This is the first time the biggest stars are going to come together in one place since Hollywood was shaken to its core by the string of allegations of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct. Some very famous faces will be missing this year because of that. And we are learning this morning the Me Too movement is far from over. More reporting is coming from the journalists responsible for breaking some of the biggest stories so far. Watch. Harvey Weinstein, Bill O'Reilly, Russell Simmons, Kevin Spacey, and many, many others. All men disgraced thanks to the Me Too movement and what has become a social revolution of women and men speaking up and out against a culture of sexual misconduct. Behind the headlines that brought these allegations into the public eye are these people. The journalists who have uncovered and reported the stories about powerful men, often at great risk and under significant threat. Hollywood has been rocked especially hard by these allegations, and as the stars come out this Sunday for the Golden Globes, expect to see black on the red carpet as actors join forces in solidarity with those who have spoken out. You can also expect to see this message from the New York Times, honoring those who have shared their stories and helped to launch a movement. Here's an early look at the ad. Wow, right? I'm joined now by two of the journalists that helped break the dam in this cultural watershed. New York Times investigative journalists Megyn Twohey and Emily Steele, who broke the harassment stories respectively about Harvey Weinstein and Bill O'Reilly. Thank you both so much for being here. And Megyn, you also broke the Trump accusations that happened a year ago. So these are two women who know what it's like to go after powerful men and to be threatened and to stand tall in the face of explicit threats. I mean, explicit threats to both of you in your reporting, both of whom have come close already to winning a Pulitzer Prize and might very well do so, in fact, as a result of these stories. So thank you very much for being here. First of all, let's talk about what your take is right now. I'll start with you, Megyn, on where the Me Too movement is right now. How far through it are we? Is it drying up, or is more coming?
I think that we're at a crossroads going into 2018. 2017 was a year where we kind of pulled the mask off of a variety of predators in a variety of industries. But this coverage is not stopping. We are going to continue to investigate allegations against powerful figures in a variety of industries. And I think that we're also going to start to turn our attention to what we've uncovered in recent months aren't just individual bad apples. We have started to piece together systemic failures that allowed these predators to continue operating virtually unchecked. And I think moving into the new year, what we're going to be trying to figure out are what are some of the systemic solutions.
That's the thing, because, Emily, we've seen Harvey Weinstein and others try to dismiss their behavior, which is so incredible. I mean, you look at Harvey, it's like he's been accused multiple times of rape. But he tried to dismiss his behavior as, I was born I'm of a certain age, came up in the 60s and the 70s. It's well beyond that. It's cultural.
It is cultural, and I just published a story right before the holidays about a company called Vice Media. They bill themselves as the future of news, the future of entertainment. They employ about 3,000 employees. A lot of those people are millennials. They're people in their 20s and their 30s. And what my story found is that there were 4 settlements that involved allegations of harassment and defamation tied to claims about sex, as well as a number of women who came forward with stories about harassment, whether that was groping, unwanted kisses, and other sexual advances. And so what that story really showed is that this isn't a generational problem. It happens with old men, and it's also happening with young men, and it's happening all across the spectrum.
It's so incredible, Emily, because I've seen you on TV before, and of course I've read all your pieces, but you know, you're a petite woman, you have a higher voice, and I would think in today's society, some of these men may have been foolish enough to dismiss you as you began your reporting. Like, oh, whatever, you know? But the truth is, you stood tall in the face of explicit threats, which were documented as you went along in this process, including from Bill O'Reilly.
Right. What I've really tried to do is follow the facts and listen to people and listen to their stories and let that be the guide for the stories that we were telling. And
But how did you get the women to speak to you? Because you started this at a time when they did not want to. It was not like it is right now.
right, it took a lot of time on the phone. I wrote handwritten cards. I showed up on people's doorsteps. There was one case where I called a source and she had a story that she had about O'Reilly where she was making allegations against him but didn't want to talk on the record. And I flew across the country and did a Pilates class to convince her, to build a relationship with her, but then also to
That's
convince
commitment.
her to talk.
Now
Yeah.
that is above and beyond. Megyn, what about you? Was there ever any hesitation? I mean, you're still a human being. You're a reporter, but you're still a human being. You're talking Trump and Weinstein. I mean, these are, you know, Weinstein had Mossad agents going after some of the people accusing him. Do you feel that you were investigated by him, and were you threatened?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, when we started investigating Harvey Weinstein earlier last year, my reporting partner, Jody Cantor, and I were well aware that there had been other news organizations that had tried and failed to do this story. They had come up against his intimidation and threats. And what we've realized recently, even some kind of undercover spying operations, not just against the women who he suspected might speak out, but also against journalists. And we, as an institution, the New York Times, was just determined to, when we showed up on women's doorsteps, we said, listen, we can't tell you what's happened with these other news organizations, but you have a pledge from our entire, you know, all the way up through the top of the New York Times that we are determined to report the truth, and when we get the truth, publish it.
And you got it on the record, which is so hard, especially before today. Like right now, women are feeling a little bit more emboldened, a lot more emboldened, but you were getting women to go on the record early on in this, which is a testament to shoe leather journalism.
I think that's right. And if you look back at some of the earlier stories, it wasn't, we weren't asking women to go on the record in a he said, she said scenario in which they really be out on a limb and subject to attack. What we did in the investigative unit at the Times was to basically start to piece together other evidence, create a safe platform in which women could come forward and share their stories and know they wouldn't be alone. And that involved basically finding evidence of settlements, which are kind of a trail of questionable activity in which Harvey Weinstein was making payments to women who had come forward over the years with allegations. And we also were able to extract some internal records from the Weinstein company.
That was a big break.
So you're not saying, listen to the women, you're not just inviting them into this platform in which they're going to really feel exposed.
No, you've got
saying,
actual contemporaneous
right,
supporting
absolutely.
proof. But what about, let's talk about moving forward. Is the Times working now? You don't have to tell me who it's on, but is it working now on Me Too stories?
Absolutely. Yeah, the New York Times, since we started this coverage last year, has not rested. I mean, every single day, we've now got an army of reporters who are investigating allegations against a variety of powerful figures in a variety of industries. I mean, just last month, we did a very powerful story about repeated harassment at Ford. And
That's what I've always said. That's how we know we'll make real progress when we're talking about the women of Denny's. No disrespect to Denny's. I don't know what's going on at Denny's. But I'm just saying, like, women who are out there and not on television or on a movie screen. But speaking of women on television, are you working on any media stories?
I am a media reporter, and there definitely are allegations that we are exploring in the media industry.
And so to those who say, like, it's over, it's done, you say what?
We're still looking.
Absolutely
We're still
not.
making calls and asking
The
questions.
hotlines are open.
The hotlines are open.
Can I ask you, though, how do you make a determination? Because, you know, we've seen humans are humans, right? And you mentioned the settlements. Like, if you're in business for 30 years, you're going to have a settlement here or a settlement there. That's the nature of being a corporation. So how do you determine, okay, this is sort of the cost of doing business, and this is a company that employs predators or a person who is a predator?
One of the big things that we looked at is whether there was a pattern of settlements or a pattern of predation or a pattern of allegations being made against powerful men. With the case of O'Reilly, for instance, our reporting in total unearthed 6 settlements that came to a total of $45 million. And that was a record that Fox News, the company, had known about before they decided to renew him as a host and give him a new contract.
Can I just ask you to tell the audience explicitly what he said to you when he threatened you?
So
It was a year earlier.
This was before
I know you were reporting on a
It was
different story, but
yeah.
it wasn't favorable to him, and he didn't like it.
And so basically what happened is I had called Fox News for comment, and O'Reilly called me back, and he basically said that my reporting so far had been fair, but that if I did anything that he found untoward, that he would come after me with everything that he had, and that I could take that as a threat. But just to be clear, that was about a different story, a different reporting.
But what I think is interesting is, I mean, I would like to believe most journalists would have said, okay, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But I think some would have thought twice about publishing the harassment story that you did in the wake of a man like that, who at the time still had enormous power, enormous money, enormous influence, and was not shy about going after journalists by name on his program. And you didn't. And I credit you for that. And I think both of you are an example to other journalists and how it's done. I wish you all the best. Thank you for your great reporting.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.